Virginia Giuffre, Pimped Out by Epstein. A World of Narcissists. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Virginia Giuffre found herself catapulted into a world of narcissists, particularly in relation to the behaviours of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Her posthumous memoir contains more revelations about what went on in her life, and part of this has been contained in the Guardian newspaper. This information provides us with an opportunity to understand more about the behaviour of the narcissist in circumstances where serious criminal activity has occurred, and the impact that occurs upon the victim of these narcissists. Giuffre continues by writing in her memoir, "When I think back on this period, I'm not proud of myself. Even though the adult me knows that the child me was battling just to survive, I wince at how passive I had become. I was turning more and more to Xanax and other drugs which were prescribed by doctors Maxwell sent me to." Now pausing there. Maxwell sends her to the doctor, ones that are chosen by her, which is part of her maintaining control over Giuffre. Furthermore, it gives the appearance that Maxwell cares about her. As you know, since Maxwell is a narcissist, she has no emotional empathy herself, but has cognitive empathy, and it makes it seem like she's a kindly aunt looking after Giuffre, whereby the naive and vulnerable Giuffre continues to be exploited and thinks, well, she's sending me to a doctor, she's trying to help me, not realising that it's all part of the control. She might look back upon it, or might have looked back upon it and realised it was part of the controlling behaviour, but she won't have picked up on it at the time. Giuffre explained that sometimes when she was really struggling, she took as many as 8 Xanax a day, which gives you some idea of the impact that the behaviours were having upon her and what she was doing, in effect, to numb herself to deal with it. Epstein and Maxwell began lending me out to their friends. This encapsulates the fact that Giuffre is nothing more than an object to both Epstein and Maxwell. She is a commodity that they believe that they own, that they can use to further their own interests, that they can hand her out like she is a bicycle that is to be borrowed by somebody and then returned. The first time, Epstein made it sound as if he were launching me on an exciting new phase of my massage training. My new clients, as Epstein described them, were a man and his pregnant wife. Both needed massages, Epstein said. They were staying at the Breakers, an exclusive Palm Beach hotel not far from El Brillo Way, and Epstein had specific instructions for how I was to treat them. Make her comfortable, but save most of your energy for him. When Epstein said this, I looked up. Did he mean what I thought he meant? Give him whatever he wants, Epstein confirmed, just like you do for me. Issuing such an instruction demonstrates once again the assertion of control by Epstein over Giuffre, his callousness with regard to the fact that he's telling her that she must offer herself sexually to this man, irrespective of whether she wants to or not, the way that he objectifies her, that she is a possession that he sends out there to do what he requires of her. That night, Giuffre continues, I took a taxi to the Breakers. The man, I'll call him billionaire number 1, and his wife were staying in an apartment in the residential section of the vast property. When I arrived, they showed me to the master bedroom, where I would work on the woman first. As a joke, Maxwell had warned me that I could induce premature labour if I massaged the woman's ankles in the wrong way. I knew nothing about prenatal massage, but I did my best, avoiding her ankles altogether. After about 45 minutes, the woman said she was going to go to sleep. The apartment was dark, and I had to tiptoe around a bit before I found billionaire number 1 in a sitting room area, taking off his clothes. I hoped, against hope, that a massage was all this stranger was expecting. I was kneading his muscles when he looked up, groaned, and asked me, "Wouldn't you be more comfortable working in the nude?" Again, here is an individual that is showing a sense of entitlement to make such a request, and a lack of boundary recognition. We don't know who this person is, and we don't know precisely what they are, but there's a good chance that she was involved with yet another narcissist who had no qualms with engaging in this behaviour. I was disappointed, writes Giuffre, but not surprised. We had sex on the floor, and afterward he tipped me $100. As I left that night, I felt that familiar scooped-out empty feeling. So this man, with his wife sleeping nearby, quite possibly aware of what her husband gets up to because it's a Stepford devaluation, clearly has no emotional empathy for his wife because he's cheating on her with the massage girl, has no emotional empathy for Virginia Giuffre because he treats her like an object to have sex with her, doing so on the floor and tipping her $100, treating her as a prostitute. He shows a sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition, an absence of emotional empathy, no remorse for his actions. The second person I was lent out to was a psychology professor whose research Epstein was helping to fund. He was a quirky little man with a balding pate of white hair, and from his nervous effect it seemed he wasn't used to being with women. The man never asked directly for sex, but Epstein had made clear that was what he expected. "Keep him happy, like you did with your first client," Epstein had said. Again, issuing instructions showing a sense of entitlement to treat Giuffre as his possession, his object. So when the professor asked at one point for one of your famous massages that Jeffrey has told me so much about, I complied. We only had sex once, though. The next night, the man told me he wanted to watch movies instead. I was glad, but I remember feeling worried that I'd somehow disappoint the professor in a way that he'd share with Epstein. The psychologist was only the first of many academics from prestigious universities who I was forced to service sexually. Again, no emotional empathy for Giuffre in being treated this way, as she's used as an object. I didn't know it then, but Epstein had spent years campaigning to keep company with the world's biggest thinkers. Epstein had convinced himself that he, a college dropout, was on the same level as degree-holding innovators and theoreticians. That, of course, is part of the delusion of the narcissist, whereby he believed that he was on their scale, even though there's no evidence to support that. And because he funded many of their research projects and flew them around on his jets, he was largely welcomed into their fold. In other words, he used bribery as a means of controlling these individuals. Scientists weren't the only people Epstein used his vast resources to win access to, which is how I came to be trafficked to a multitude of powerful men. Among them were a gubernatorial candidate who was soon to win election in a western state and a former US senator. Since Epstein usually neglected to introduce me to these men by name, I would only learn who some of them were years later, when I studied photographs of Epstein's associates and recognized their faces. Thus, another excerpt from her posthumous memoir, which demonstrates the way that she was objectified when she was pimped out by Epstein. Unsurprising behaviour by a narcissist of his ilk, treating a young girl in this way. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.